Hey everybody, I've got a very quick update for you today, but it's a very big update. Proton 8.0 is now available, and there's a whole bunch of changes. I cannot list all of the changes in the video. I will put them on screen so that you can see what those changes are, but I want to talk about what these changes mean and why it's so important that we continue to see these kind of changes. Let's start with the tweet from Pierre Lugreffet. He says, Proton 8.0 is now available with many changes, our biggest rebase to date. Note it requires a GPU with Vulkan 1.3 support. Experimental 8.0 will follow sometime this week. So let's look at the actual changes that we are going to be seeing. I'll just leave these on screen so you can take a look at these. It says Proton 8, it says now playable. So previous to this, some of these games were not playable. Well, now they are going to be playable. That doesn't mean that you could not play them before. It means that they weren't rated as playable by Valve. At least that's my interpretation here. Because I've seen plenty of people talking about, gosh, where is it? I can't find it on here. Disney Dreamlight Valley. I've seen a lot of people talk about Disney Dreamlight Valley previously on the Steam Deck. I haven't played it because I don't have that game, but I've seen a lot of people talk about it. So clearly people were able to play Disney Dreamlight Valley before, but now it is playable on Proton. So I think that that means that the experience is going to be better. Now, speaking of the experience getting better, there's a whole bunch of other bug fixes that Valve is working on here. For instance, multiple fixes when it comes to launchers. I have an entire video all about how launchers are the bane of the Steam Deck's existence and the reason why a lot of games just don't work on the Steam Deck or on Linux is because of launchers that are hard-coded for Windows, and whenever that launcher pops up, the game doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know what API things to send to Proton in order to make it so that you can actually play, and it runs into problems. I know that I personally ran into this when I was trying to play Final Fantasy XIV when the Steam Deck first came out, which is really weird because that's one of the games that, Gabe Newell said that he was spending a lot of time on. He was playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV. He was playing as White Mage. He was playing it with his son. And so then I got the Steam Deck and it was working, but then Square Enix updated their launcher and it broke, meaning that people had to have certain workarounds. Well, we've seen that many times. Well, now we have yet another example where Valve, not Square, but Valve is going through and updating others, updating Proton in order to work around these launchers that companies like 2K and EA and Square have made, which is getting in everybody's way, which is it's awesome that Valve is doing it, but it's this should be on these companies to, well, actually, here's the question for all of you. Should this be on those companies to fix? Is it up to Square to make sure that their game runs well on the Steam Deck, a game that they made before the Steam Deck existed? They made this for Windows, not for Linux. Is it up to them to update the game in order to run on the Steam Deck? I'm not asking if they should, because, I, of course, think that they should. I'm asking if the responsibility falls to these companies who've made games previous to the Steam Deck existing, and now they get, angry tweets or whatever sent at them because their game isn't running on a piece of hardware that they never said it would run on. It's the kind of question that I think is super interesting, because I don't think that there's a really good right answer. And you guys can tell me what you think about this in the comment section down below. But I love that Valve is going in and working so hard on getting Proton to be what it can be. And I guess what I'm really hoping for is that sometime soon we actually do see Valve release SteamOS to be put on other devices. I have to say that since I've kind of changed my working setup here at my desk, and my Mac is now the core machine that I work from for my content creation for my YouTube channel and for my podcast and stuff. Like, that's where I do all of my work. And my PC has essentially, for me, turned into a games console. And I keep waiting for Valve to release that software so that I can replace Windows on that machine and hopefully get an improved experience. Now, you know, some might say that's not really going to be an improved experience, Bill, because you won't be able to play games that are not playable or verified, through Proton. And you know what? You're absolutely right. But at the same time, I feel like there's enough games out there that, honestly, between my Xbox, my PlayStation, my Switch, and my Steam Deck / PC, I don't really find myself trying to play games that don't work on SteamOS. Like, almost all of the games that I want to play either work on SteamOS or are just the games that I'm going to play on a console anyway. And if companies won't support the Steam Deck, or they won't support Linux as an operating system, or they won't support, us using Proton to get around the fact that they made their game with Windows in mind, if they actively block that, like, for instance, Bungie does with Destiny, well, then I think I can just live without that game. Of course, I have Destiny 2 on my PlayStation because, it's owned by Sony anyway, and so it just seemed like a good place to play it, and I wanted to play it on the big screen, and I wasn't going to use a mouse and keyboard, but maybe that's not the best example, but I think for a lot of people that is a really good example. Bungie said you can't play games on the Steam Deck, so fine, I just won't play your damn games. And so I'm curious for all of you. That's the second question of today's video. I'm curious for all of you. Do you simply just write off games that you can't play on your Steam Deck? Or do you try and shoehorn them in? And if you can't shoehorn them in, do you go back to Windows? Or are you all in on SteamOS? Anyway, this is supposed to be a short video. I have no idea if it was. It was just a stream of consciousness into the microphone, into the camera. Very little editing. I probably will have to cut something out. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And before you go, make sure that you check out this video right here. It is the latest episode of my podcast, the NerdNest podcast, where I've got Russ from Retro Game Core, The Fox, Fan the Deck, Cryobite 33, and did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. If not, I'm sure that we'll have others on the show as well. Make sure you check out that video, and I'll see you on the next one. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everybody.